Hi, I'm Justin Stelzer, and this is the Hunley Case. Hunley Inc. is a fly fishing rod producer based in Ohio, and they've been suffering from a sales decline over the last year. Their main line, the Klamath line, seems to be maturing, and the company is looking for new ways to penetrate the market. At its inception, the brand capitalized on the growth of the sport and became a fan favorite amongst avid and competitive fishermen. That's because Hunley used to put a lot of effort into innovating and creating rods with quality and care that reflected the customer's own love for the sport. Leadership is fearing that their current Klamath line may be tired and has been tasked to look for growth for somewhere else. Hunley concentrates its efforts exclusively in the freshwater fly rod segment, and the target market was mainly the avid and, if talented enough, competitive fishermen, but it did have lower offerings for the occasional fisherman. Hunley believes that the value enhanced customers' perception of the products. However, the rods have been outpriced by competitors. By maintaining this low pricing, it is believed that the brand has devalued its image in the eyes of consumers despite not actually lowering the quality of its products. So some of the problems include that their brand image is muddled with its proposed target markets and that the products are tired and need a refresh. Some of these goals to do that are going to be to identify a new brand direction moving forward, a 10% increase in top-line sales growth, and revamping the advertising plans to change customer perception. The good thing about Hunley is that they maintain their own manufacturing operation, and they used to be an industry leader, which allows them a chance to repossess that. They are innovative in the fly fishing market, and they have strong relationships with retailers. The Hunley family itself owns the company, so they're primary stakeholder, as well as their employees and retailers who do work with them. Customers, of course, are a stakeholder, and by maintaining a strong relationship with all of these parties, Hunley can leverage itself into a strong brand that can be an industry leader in the future. The fly fishing market in the U.S. contains about 6.5 million people, and of the total fly fishing market population, about 65% have an income of over $50,000. That allows us to capitalize on this competitive and avid fisherman market, which accounts for 80% of the expenditures in the industry, and most of that is spent on gear and travel. So if we position ourselves correctly, we can really capitalize on that. As you can see from the table right here, Hunley has catered to the avid and competitive fishermen for a while, but it can dip into that occasional percent of the market there. While it may be adding more market participants to the reach, the occasional fisherman doesn't spend nearly as much money as the avid. So the value proposition there maybe doesn't reach the number of people that Hunley would like to, and it might be devaluing the brand in the long run. It's a competitive industry with about 25 companies accounting for more than 20 million in sales. These go from full rod-only retailers such as Scott to full gamut outfitters such as Orvis. Major sporting goods retailers like Dick's, LL Beans, etc. carry several brands along with their own. Specialty fly fishing rod stores also push products, and some of the leading brands competing against Hunley are that of Scott, Orvis, Sage, and Echo. They offer a price of about $1,200 at the top end and about $150 at the bottom. And depending on how we incentivize these specialty store clerks, we might be able to leverage that into selling more rods of our own. Hunley does a couple of things really well. This includes creating high-quality products and selling them for a value, as well as focusing on relationships with specialty retail stores and emphasizing customer satisfaction. They also control proprietary manufacturing in the U.S., which is important. However, on the flip side, they are viewed only as a quality mid-tier brand at best and has been unable to retain its original industry-leading image. They also don't have good advertising allocation, and they lack the proper information from those advertisements to be effective. There are some opportunities and some threats in the market as well, with opportunities being that it is, in fact, a renewable hobby, with seasons replenishing not only fish, but also families replenishing market participants as they go together on these outings. The top two market segments represent 80% of the sport, and they're always looking for new materials and gear. And the problem is that it is a very saturated product market, but the higher the price point, the deeper the brand loyalty, and high advertising spending from top brands influences customer perception. So we're looking at 2 to 4 options here that we can play. The first option is to introduce a new high-end Tiddalook rod. So again, the name's going to be called Tiddalook, and we're basically going for a high-end, first-of-its-kind ultralight material called Grand Bracera. And it's going to be something a little bit more flexible that they can use. It's never been done before, so we can play that and innovate the market. It would run for about $600 to $1,000 in retail price, and it could take back that historical image of an innovative, high-quality rod producer that takes the time with its craft. The second option is a Walmart entry-level rod, which would allow Hunley to tap into the beginner and value-oriented occasional target market, but they would not be able to manufacture it on its own. It'd have to outsource it, which is a problem, and this would run them $99 a unit, which is far below what they've ever sold. Option 3 would be to not add any lines, and option 4 would be to pursue options 1 and 2 at the same time. As a product market focus, if we decide to go with the Tiddler rod, we'd be hitting that product development, existing market, new product style. And if we decide to go with the Walmart rod, we would be hitting that market development / market penetration line there, where we'd be having an existing market with an existing product, but also we could be hitting a new market if we push for bringing people into the sport, which might be necessary to grow our revenues. The Tiddler line would provide Hunley with a better, best value proposition as a brand, and the brand loyalty, if we can convert and retain these avid competitive anglers, would allow us to retain them longer and would be good for the brand moving forward. Walmart would be good for getting new people into the sport and attacking that 4% that's there. But again, the total market is only 4% for beginners, and it's pretty low. So even though we might take a bunch of market share in that, we wouldn't necessarily be able to capitalize. The upside there for growth isn't as high as the other one. And Hunley would also have to outsource his production overseas, which could diminish the quality of the rods. So some assumptions here is that the initial startup cost is about $1 million in marketing for either, and those have been added in the individual G&A expense lines. Our 10% discount rate is for our NPV, and then we have a cost of goods sold for the Klamath line averaging around 45%. We also decided to take, in terms of figuring out units sold, we are going to do that based on the market share. And that's done by taking the total population, dividing it by the number of minimum units to figure out what the market share would be, and then attacking that for what we think the target should look like. So if we decide to go with the Tiddler rods, we're going to see that the Klamath line is going to get cannibalized by up to 20% in year 3. This is mainly because the Tiddler line is going to be, causing people to level up, if you will, from the Klamath to the Tiddler. We're also going to use that to increase the sales price to limit customer perception and to make them think that we are, in fact, a much higher quality brand. It's also not that absurd to think that we can shoot for about 1.25% of that total market share in the avid and competitive space, which would end us having us sell 35,000 lines of the Tiddler. Despite the cannibalization, we could NPV around $7.5 million in value to Hunley, and if we market this correctly, we can rebrand ourselves completely moving forward as a high-quality, high-value rod. If we go with the second market option here, which is the Walmart rod, we're going to see not as much, if any, cannibalization of the Klamath line, but worst case, we're going to see them decrease in market share because our brand perception might go down. This is because people are going to see that we're coming in with a cheaper alternative, and we're appealing to trying to get as many people as we can to buy our units instead of focusing on making fewer higher quality units for serious anglers, and that might hurt our brand position in the long run with our normal target market. As we can see here, the NPV isn't quite as high combined as it would be with the other one, but we would still be making money. It also is a very conservative estimate moving forward, but at this rate, it doesn't look like we're going to hit that 10% sales increase either. If we don't do anything, we can focus that money on growing our Klamath line, but we're not going to see the sales growth that we need really moving forward. And it's just kind of an unsexy way to do it, but we could focus on it moving forward. But we would need a new advertising campaign to push that, and it could also backfire, and it would be stale because it's just the same old same. We could also pursue the Tiddler and the Walmart options, but if we do that, we could hurt our standing as a total brand. We could be overreaching, as we need to already dedicate sales teams for both. And even though the Walmart rod should be primarily done via Walmart's advertising, it's still going to require a headache on our end to get that done. And we, along with the Tiddler rod, we have to start our own sales team in that. It's just a lot, and right now, even though physically we might be able to handle it, it could overreach and hurt our brand image. As we can see here, the Tiddler rod provides the highest individual and combined MVP or NPV. This brings us to our final recommendation of pursuing the Tiddler rod. This rod will be an industry-shaking, innovative rod that could put Hunley back on the map as an industry leader. The product itself will be attacking that target market of around 80%, which is avid and competitive anglers. And those are going to be the ones who spend the money on the new sexy product, and it could refresh our Hunley image and brand name by allowing us to increase our pricing to, assume that we also have a higher quality product line in general without actually having to do anything other than implement this new design. So we're going to need to come up with a new marketing program to help us do this. As you can see below, we're going to recalibrate some of our spending, and we're going to talk about that in the next segment. First, our product strategy is that we're going to be selling the Tiddler line alongside the Klamath line. So we really need to drive home that that new innovative Grand Brassard material is composed of and will benefit those that use it. This includes greater strength and rod flexibility, and that the product will be high quality. So this will also highlight the high quality product that Hunley has in the Klamath line, which should elevate the public perception of both. The price strategy is that we're going to sell at a wholesale price of $400. Depending on unit demand, we could also raise these prices to further increase our margins, but it's also important that we keep our retail relationships strong. So if we can get our retail partners to push our sales here, we might be able to hit that quicker top line unit growth while still maintaining our 50% margins like we're trying to do. When we start to ramp up our Tiddler sales, we could then start pushing the price of the Klamath line slowly, as our public perception is going to accommodate that price increase. Our promotion strategy is going to change a little bit as well, because not only are we going to dump that $400,000 into print advertising, but we're going to reallocate from what we were doing before into some of these new higher end print ads, such as Wall Street Journal, The Economist, etc. And by doing this, we're also going to expand our reach with the demographics that we're trying to hit. We're also going to increase our sponsorship allocation, which is going to best utilize our name for competitions and establish relationships with the best athletes. And with that, we're also going to utilize demo booths at competitions and clinics to let customers get a feel for the new rods. By putting these rods directly into people's hands, they're going to be able to see firsthand what the innovation is going to be, and this will allow them to feel empowered to go and buy it. We're also going to do giveaways on our social media, which is done in that giveaway spending, as well as increasing our social media spending, which is going to engage the brand with the younger demographic and increase sales. And we're also going to drive more revenue to our site, selling at that full retail price of around $600 to $1,000, because we're going to have more people coming to it through the giveaways and at these events with spending more money on our search-based advertising. We're also going to place our rods in all of our retail stores that we've been placing them in anyways, and we're also going to pump some commission dollars into the point of sale spots in these retail stores, which will hopefully incentivize employees to recommend our rods. We're also going to be spending, again, $165,000 a year on demo booths at competitions, trade shows, and clinics, and we're going to be doing giveaways as well in place of some of these lower-end markets here. So some of our short-term recommendations are investing in the Tiddler rods and implementing the new marketing strategies to initiate the rebrand of Hunley as a top-tier supplier. We need to do this because if we can get the rods in the hands of people that want to use them, they're going to recognize the Hunley name for the long haul, and that's going to help all of our lines in the future and elevate our status in the fly fishing industry in general. Long term, we're going to have to look to investigate the feasibility of introducing a line like the Walmart line, except with multiple retailers. While it's going to take some negotiation work and we have to give some control, we still can maximize our reach. And we should investigate this possibility of starting with a joint venture as well, because this would allow us to spend less money up front with another reputable name such as Orvis or Sage, and that'll help us bring an entry-level line to market. Again, it's all about growing the sport, because if we can grow the whole sport, we can grow our top-end lines as well, just by the sheer law of bringing more people in. Finally, let's put forth some capital to help grow that sport by offering free clinics, ad campaigns, and other beginner gear options. And long term, we can make the Hunley name a household name in the fly fishing industry. Thank you.